60 Minutes Overtime.
Our report this week is on hostage diplomacy. There are currently more than 40 Americans unjustly detained abroad, held by foreign governments, not by terrorist groups, and often they're used for political leverage. The countries holding Americans right now include Russia, China, Iran, and Venezuela. Our government calls them wrongful detainees. One of them, an American journalist named Danny Fenster, was recently released from nearly 6 months in prison in Myanmar. We spoke with him about what life was like locked up in what's actually called Insein Prison. Danny Fenster told us about the little things that got him through his captivity: reading books, running figure eights in the small courtyard, and waiting for secret notes from his wife, Juliana.
The cell was, I think it was about 9 by 7 feet, concrete floor and walls. There's a door on the front that is just bars, like you would imagine a prison, and a little window in the back that's barred. And then there's a wooden pallet in the corner.
That's your bed?
That's your bed. And then there's a slab of porcelain with a hole in the middle. That is your toilet. And that's the room. Immediately in front of that, there's a wall in another door with bars with no ceiling, so it's sort of open air, like your patio.
Like a patio?
So yeah, I mean, that's your personal outdoor space. That's where you shower. There's a trough of water.
But it's a small space with walls.
Mm-hmm. And immediately outside of that, there's a sidewalk and a little area of grass and dirt.
Could you go out there?
Yeah. During the day, you could go out there and walk in circles.
You weren't tortured. What about sleep deprivation? I mean, anything deliberate like that?
Well, they make you sleep with the light on. And this isn't your average, bedroom light. This is like when you walk into a 7-Eleven at 2 a.m., dark outside, incredibly brightly lit, fluorescent lit.
Could you sleep at night?
The first night, not at all. It was difficult for a little while, but I started sleeping all right. I mean, pretty quickly you adapt and start falling asleep at night.
Pretty quickly you adapt, really?
I think so.
So what about food? Did they feed you well, or were you hungry? And what did they feed you?
Well, I wouldn't say they fed me well. The thing that really sustained me, and the food that I was, most excited about, was these food parcels, these food packages that Juliana would bring every 2 weeks.
Could you see her?
No.
She just had to drop it off?
Yeah. My only connection with her, I wouldn't have gotten through it for the amount of time that I did have a positive attitude, that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't know those packages were coming, which in themselves felt like a connection to her, and also the tiny little notes that she was writing and sneaking into them, in boxes of granola bars, in bags of cereal, telling me a little bit about what was going on, but mostly just telling me how much she loved me. And I was able to early on sneak out some notes to her, telling her the same. And that's what kept me sane in there, really.
How did you sneak notes out? I've always been intrigued by prisoners who get the word out somehow. How does that work?
There were several different ways, and it kind of became fun, as a game to think of new ways, something to occupy your thoughts. I had several pairs of pants that had a drawstring, so I would write a small note and wrap it around the drawstring and tie it with a piece of dental floss, and then shimmy it back into the waistband. And then when I went to court, as I'm sitting there listening to the judge, I would kind of fidget with my waistband and pull it and rip it off. I would say, please give this to Juliana.
Were you never afraid in all this early time?
There must have been some fear early on, but I think the real fear set on later.
But what about in the beginning? They take you to this prison. You don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know what's going to happen, and that maybe worked to my advantage, because my recollection is that early on, my assumption, I think, was that this isn't going to last long. So as angry and as uncertain as everything is, there's no way I'm going to be here for very long. I knew a Japanese journalist had been kept for, I think, a couple weeks. I knew that a Polish journalist had been kept for less than that. I thought they wanted to get us out of there. I didn't think they wanted to hang on to us.
Do you feel strangely more connected to Myanmar than you did before?
Yeah, much more. I feel like Myanmar will be an important part of my life for the rest of my life. But yeah, the thing about it is that entire country is being held prisoner right now. They're all sort of captives of the military, and that's ongoing. When I left, none of that changed.